Some mornings, I wake before the alarm, not because I'm rested, but because my mind has already started running. The house is quiet. The city outside is still stretching awake. Yet inside me, there's motion, a constant hum that never really stops. I make coffee out of habit. I tell myself it's to start the day, but really, it's to buy a few minutes before the race begins. The mug warms my hands while the glow of my laptop waits in the corner. A blue reminder that I'm always a little behind. On paper, I'm doing fine. The bills are paid, the promotions came, my family says they're proud. But under the surface of those good things, something unsettled lives. A small, persistent thought. If everything looks right, why do I still feel wrong? The contradiction is sharp. I want rest, but I don't know how to stop. I crave peace, yet I keep checking the clock, calculating how much time I can give myself before guilt sets in. I reach for my wallet to grab a card for groceries. It's thick with receipts, proof of motion, not meaning. Gas, groceries, subscriptions, coffee shops where I sat pretending to take a break while still answering emails. The leather feels heavy in my hand, as if every purchase carries a little confession. I'm trying. I remember a line from Tolstoy I once underlined in the margin of a cheap paperback. There is no greatness where there is not simplicity. Back then I thought he meant owning less. Now I think he meant something harder. The courage to want less. That idea makes me uncomfortable. Wanting less feels like losing. In a world that rewards busyness, how do you admit you're tired of being busy? How do you slow down without feeling like you're disappearing? I sip the coffee. It's gone lukewarm. Outside, a neighbor jogs by in bright sneakers, a picture of health and order. I envy the rhythm in her stride. I used to have that kind of rhythm before I started mistaking exhaustion for dedication. Inside, the quiet feels loud. I scroll my phone just to fill it, reading headlines about productivity, side hustles, the next big thing. Each one whispers the same lie. More will finally be enough, but more has never stayed enough for long. I earn more. I spend more. I owe more of myself. Sometimes I wonder if peace has a price tag, and if I've been paying in all the wrong currency: time, joy, presence. The wallet sits beside the coffee mug now. Two ordinary objects, two mirrors of how I live, one full, one empty. I trace the seam of the leather with my thumb, thinking about how often I chase security but neglect the feeling of being safe. There's a dull ache in my chest, not panic, just recognition. This isn't about money. It's about measurement, about how I keep counting my worth in numbers that don't know my name. I take a breath. The air tastes like coffee and quiet resolve. Maybe today doesn't need another victory. Maybe it just needs a pause. Through the window, the light shifts, golden now, softer. It touches the wallet, making it shine like something sacred instead of ordinary. I realize that's what I've been missing. Not more things, but more moments that feel like this. Still, honest, alive. I close the wallet gently, set it aside, and wrap both hands around the mug. The day hasn't started, but something inside me already has. Maybe the real question isn't how much I can earn, but how much life I can let in. And as the kettle begins to hiss, steady and calm, I whisper a quiet promise to myself. Today, I will notice the enough that's already here. Some days, I tell myself I'm just tired, that this feeling is nothing rest can't fix. But even on the mornings I sleep in, the ache waits for me, not in my body, but somewhere quieter, somewhere thought-shaped. I keep wondering why I'm so restless inside a life that, from the outside, looks stable. I have what I used to pray for, yet I still wake with that same pulse of anxiety, the one that whispers, "You're not quite there yet." It's strange. I don't even know where there is anymore. All I know is how to keep going, keep producing, keep making things look okay. There's a part of me that fears stopping. If I slow down, maybe the noise will fade and I'll have to face what's underneath the loneliness that hides behind my calendar. The question I've dodged for years. What if the life I built isn't the life I want? I pour another cup of coffee I don't need. The smell alone feels like proof I'm still functioning. The wallet lies on the table again, half open. I can see the corner of a business card from someone I promised to call back months ago. I never did. I tell myself I'm too busy, but that's not the truth. The truth is, I don't know what to say anymore. I used to believe that being busy meant being valuable. Now I see it might just mean being afraid to be still. That's the quiet lie I live with, that if I keep moving, I'll stay safe. That if I keep working, I'll stay worthy. But safety built on exhaustion never lasts. And worth built on work alone feels hollow when the laptop closes and the house turns dark. I scroll through my phone credit alerts, reminders, emails titled urgent, important, final notice. The language of modern life pulsing with pressure. Even peace feels like another item I have to earn. Sometimes I think about deleting everything and starting over. New job, new city, new self. But I know wherever I go, I'll take the same mind with me. The same need to prove, the same fear of not being enough. That's the part I can't outrun. The one that tells me I should have figured it out by now. The one that compares my quiet mornings to other people's highlight reels. Tolstoy once wrote about how people lose their way not because they're evil, but because they mistake the artificial for the essential. I see that in myself every day, buying things to feel progress, saying yes to projects that don't fit, staying connected to noise that drains me. I save for tomorrow but spend my peace today. There's a cruelty in that kind of self-bargain, a kindness withheld from the one person who needs it most, me. Sometimes, late at night, I open the wallet just to count. Not the money, but the proof of movement. Receipts, cards, folded notes. They tell the story of someone always doing, rarely being. It's a strange loneliness to have a full wallet and an empty heart. And yet I don't hate this version of myself. She's just tired. She's been running on the idea that love, rest, or joy must be earned, not received. But deep down, a quieter truth knocks the kind that doesn't demand, just waits to be noticed. Maybe it's not about earning peace. Maybe it's about allowing it. The contradiction between the life I show and the life I feel is uncomfortable, yes, but it's also the doorway. Maybe this ache isn't proof of failure. Maybe it's proof that I still care enough to want something real. The clock ticks. The light shifts again, softer now. I let myself sit in that discomfort without fixing it. It feels strange, like standing still on a moving walkway, everything around me rushing forward while I finally stop. The wallet is still there, thick with reminders. I touch it, gently this time, and whisper, "You don't have to hold everything." For the first time in a long time, I let the silence last. And in that quiet, I hear a thought so simple it almost feels sacred. Maybe I'm not broken. Maybe I'm just overloaded. It happened on an ordinary Thursday, the kind of day that looked harmless from the outside. Emails, errands, a meeting that ran long, dinner microwave between deadlines, nothing dramatic, just the usual hum of a life in motion. I remember reaching for my wallet at the grocery store. It slipped from my hand and fell open on the floor. Receipts scattered like paper feathers, proof of every small exchange that had filled my days. Groceries, gas, coffee, convenience. All those moments where I traded time for ease, silence for distraction. I crouched to gather them up, feeling the curious gaze of the cashier waiting. Polite but detached. My fingers trembled a little, not from embarrassment but from something deeper, recognition. As I picked up each slip, I realized how each one carried a little piece of my story. How often I tried to buy comfort instead of rest, to reward myself for surviving another day of fine, to measure progress through spending instead of presence. It was such a small scene, a few seconds at a checkout line, but something cracked open in me. For months, maybe years, I had been chasing the feeling of enough the way a child chases sunlight through leaves. Always close, never caught. And in that moment, watching those thin papers flutter, I understood why. I wasn't chasing money. I was chasing safety. The safety of knowing I wouldn't lose what I'd worked for. The safety of being seen as capable, dependable, unshakable. But the cost of that safety was stealthy. Every yes to work I didn't believe in. Every hour spent proving instead of living. Every night falling asleep thinking about tomorrow's list instead of today's laughter. That's when the thought landed quiet but solid. If I keep living like this, I'll go broke in the ways that matter. I stood there holding the wallet. It's inside empty now. It's outside soft and worn. It felt lighter, and so did I. A man behind me cleared his throat and I hurried to pay, still caught in the echo of that sentence. It wasn't despair. It was clarity, the kind that burns just enough to wake you up. Walking home, I noticed things I'd been too busy to see. The faint smell of rain on asphalt, a neighbor laughing into her phone, a child tugging his mother's sleeve for attention she actually gave. It struck me how the world keeps offering proof of life while I keep scrolling past it. Back home, I laid the wallet on the table, the same table that had witnessed all my mornings. For the first time, I didn't rush to put it away. I just stared at it. That small symbol of everything I thought I needed to control. The leather looked softer now, like it had exhaled. Maybe I had too. In that quiet, I finally faced what the ache had been trying to tell me. I had confused achievement with peace. I had mistaken accumulation for safety. I had lived as if joy was a luxury instead of a birthright. It wasn't self-blame I felt, it was release. A long, slow exhale of years spent running toward a finish line that keeps moving. Tolstoy once said that truth is often hidden in simplicity. Maybe this was mine. The life I keep chasing is already here, waiting beneath the noise. The refrigerator hummed. A drop of rain tapped the window. My breath synced with the sound, steady and human. I didn't need a grand plan, not yet. Just the willingness to stop to listen to the small truth that had been whispering all along. You can stop measuring. You can just be. I turned off the light, leaving the wallet on the table open, empty, unashamed. The room felt different, not larger but freer, like it had made space for something I'd forgotten. Myself. Outside, the rain began to fall harder. Each drop against the glass sounded like a small applause. And for once, I didn't rush to get ahead of it. I let it fall, because sometimes, the moment you finally let go of more, you start to feel what enough really means. That night I opened a book I hadn't touched in years, The Death of Ivan Ilyich by Leo Tolstoy. Its pages smelled faintly of dust and time. The spine cracked when I bent it open, like something long asleep stretching awake. I didn't plan to read much, but one line caught me and wouldn't let go. He saw clearly that it was not real life he had lived. I closed the book and just sat there. The words landed like a confession I hadn't known I was waiting for. Not real life. That was it. That was what I'd been feeling, like I'd been living the outline of a life, but not the center of it. Tolstoy knew something about illusions of success. He'd had everything: wealth, recognition, admiration, and still felt starved for truth. He stripped away his comforts, gave up his title, dressed simply, walked among farmers and wrote about the freedom found in honesty. He wasn't rejecting life, he was reclaiming it. Reading his words, I felt him sitting beside me in spirit, not as a philosopher, but as a companion, someone who also once mistook motion for meaning. He seemed to whisper, "Simplicity is not a loss, it's a return." I thought of my own clutter, not the physical kind, though my desk had its share, but the inner mess, the overthinking, the proving, the performing. How much of my life had been spent making myself look alive instead of actually feeling it? Tolstoy's kind of simplicity wasn't about having less. It was about seeing more clearly. He wrote about how real joy grows only in the soil of goodness, and how truth makes a person spacious inside. And for the first time in a long time, I wanted that kind of spaciousness, a heart unstuffed with obligation. I turned off my phone. The screen went dark. The quiet expanded. At first, it felt strange, like standing in a room after everyone leaves a party. Then slowly, the stillness began to feel like company, I thought about how I'd been hoarding not just things, but expectations. Every should and must folded into the wallet of my mind, making it heavy. Tolstoy's words nudged me gently. What if greatness isn't accumulation, but attention? The idea startled me in its simplicity. Attention, not to noise or status, but to goodness, truth, and the small joys that keep us human. I began to notice how these truths live in the smallest corners of a day. The smell of coffee before the first sip, the steady rhythm of my breath when I'm not rushing, the kindness in a stranger's voice at the grocery store. Those were the riches I'd been too busy to claim. I looked at the wallet again, still on the table.
Its leather softened by the light.
For once, it didn't feel like a record of lack. It felt like a reminder of choice. Every purchase, every decision, every breath had been an attempt to fill something that was never truly empty, only overlooked. Tolstoy's life, I realized, was one long apology to his own soul. He had learned what I was just beginning to understand, that peace is not found in perfection, but in honesty. I whispered to myself, what if the richest life is the one that costs the least to keep? It wasn't a resolution, it was a beginning. In that moment, something softened inside me. The ambition didn't disappear, it just changed shape. It no longer wanted applause, it wanted alignment. I didn't want more, I wanted meaning. The room felt different again, lighter, like it had exhaled too. I felt a quiet, strange gratitude, not for things gained, but for illusions finally dropped. And as I turned off the lamp, I understood Tolstoy's wisdom in a way that didn't need words. To live simply is to live truthfully, and to live truthfully is to finally feel alive. The wallet stayed on the table, empty and calm. I let it, because for the first time in a long while, I wasn't afraid of empty. Empty meant space. Space meant peace. And peace, I realized, was all I'd ever been working for. Sometimes wisdom arrives like a whisper. Start small. Not a revolution of habits, but a gentle rearranging of attention. Tolstoy believed that moral simplicity wasn't about retreating from the world, but about learning to live in it with an honest heart, to let money, time, and meaning finally speak the same language. So here, one by one, are the simple acts that slowly change everything. The one wallet rule. Every morning, I touch the wallet before I leave the house. Once, it was a vault of proof cards, receipts, folded fears. Now it's a reminder that boundaries are not cages, they are clarity. Behavioral scientists say that when we limit choices, we ease anxiety. So I carry only what I need for the day. One card, a bit of cash. A note that says, spend on what nourishes. When the wallet feels lighter, so does my mind. I stop asking, can I afford this? And start asking, does this serve my peace? Little by little, control turns into calm. Budget by joy. I used to track expenses like punishments, red marks on a ledger of guilt. But research shows that joy is a better compass than shame. So now, once a month, I open my statement and divide it gently. Nourish, neutral, drain. Anything that drains without feeding my spirit, gone. Anything that nourishes connection or curiosity stays. It's not deprivation, it's direction. The money doesn't vanish, it transforms. It buys a train ticket to visit a friend, a new plant for the window, a small proof that happiness doesn't live in price tags, but in presence. 3 good minutes. Before the world begins its noise, I give myself 3 quiet minutes. Just me, my breath, and the morning light. Neuroscientists call this regulation. Tolstoy would have called it goodness. I breathe in through my nose, slow and steady. I exhale longer, teaching my body that the day is not a threat. Each breath is a declaration. I am safe enough to choose deliberately. Only after this ritual do I open the laptop, answer the world, or check the wallet. And in those minutes, simplicity stops being an idea. It becomes a pulse. Thought record for the what-ifs. Fear has a voice, and writing helps it lose its echo. When my thoughts spiral, what if I fail? What if it's never enough? I write them down like data, not destiny. Psychologists call it cognitive restructuring, maiming the fear to tame it. I divide the page. Trigger, thought, feeling, evidence, reframe. The storm becomes a map. The panic becomes a paragraph. I keep a small card in my wallet titled, "If worried, I will." Call a friend, check the facts, breathe. Because clarity, not certainty, is what steadies the heart.
Buy back 1 hour time is the quietest currency.
Studies show that people who trade money for time outsourcing chores, simplifying errands, feel freer. So once a week, I redeem 1 hour. Sometimes I order groceries instead of standing in line. Sometimes I skip scrolling and call my mother. I spend that hour not on achievement, but on being. The return is always the same. A calmer pulse, a clearer mind, a kinder self. The enough audit. Every Sunday evening, I sit with a notebook and ask, what is enough this week? Enough sleep, enough laughter, enough focus, enough grace. Defining enough gives my nervous system a finish line. Without it, I run forever. So I write 5 sentences, my keeps and my releases. Keeps. Coffee before phone, dinners at the table. Releases. Doom scrolling. 1 unnecessary meeting. This list stays tucked behind my ID. The real password to peace. 1 tiny social repair. Human connection is the most undervalued asset. When life feels heavy, the quickest investment is kindness. I send 1 small message, thinking of you. No need to reply. Or I wave at the neighbor I once ignored. These micro acts change the chemistry of a day. They remind me that wealth is measured not in digits, but in dignity. The kind that grows when 2 people feel seen. Together. These are not rules but rhythms. A moral practice made visible. A slimmer wallet, a calmer breath, a note of gratitude. Tolstoy's simplicity isn't about stepping away from life. It's about stepping back into it with clarity. We do not simplify to escape the world. We simplify to meet it with open hands. And when I hold that wallet now, I no longer count what's inside. I count what it taught me. That peace grows where money, minutes, and meaning finally tell the same story. The house is quiet again. The kind of quiet that used to make me uneasy. Now it feels like a friend who comes to sit beside me, not saying much, just being there. The wallet rests on the table, where this story began.
But it looks different tonight.
Thinner, calmer, somehow honest. It's no longer swollen with receipts or cards trying to prove I belong. Inside are only a few essentials. My ID, 1 card, a photo and a folded note. On the note I've written in small, steady letters, "You have enough." It started as a reminder. Now, it feels like truth. There was a time when this wallet held my anxiety. A portable record of everything I thought I needed to be. Every transaction felt like evidence that I was functioning, that I was surviving. But I see now that I wasn't living simply. I was living on autopilot. And autopilot may keep you moving, but it never brings you home. Tonight, I count differently. Not the bills or the balances, but the moments of quiet courage that don't fit on a receipt. The morning I let myself breathe before checking messages. The night I decided not to chase 1 more deadline. The small apology I sent that reopened an old friendship. Those 2 are forms of wealth. The kind you can't deposit but can deeply feel. Outside, the world hums with its usual urgency. I can hear a car door slam, a phone ring in another apartment. The rhythm of life continuing as it always does. But something in me has shifted. The noise doesn't pull the same way. For the first time in a long while, I'm not chasing the next thing. I'm tending to the present one. Tolstoy once said that the simplest thing can be the hardest, to live truthfully. And living truthfully, I'm learning, isn't about perfection or renunciation. It's about choosing clarity over clutter in thoughts, in time, in love, in money. It's about asking every day, does this align with who I wish to be? When the answer is yes, peace arrives quietly, like a guest who doesn't need to be entertained. When the answer is no, I forgive myself and begin again. That's the rhythm now. Honest beginnings instead of endless striving. I take the wallet in my hand, feeling the grain of the leather, the faint imprint of years.
It used to feel heavy. Now it fits easily in my palm.
Maybe this is what moral simplicity feels like. Not emptiness, but lightness earned. Not giving up, but giving back to yourself the space you once surrendered to fear. I slip the note out again. You have enough. It's such a small sentence, but when I read it slowly, it becomes more than comfort. It becomes direction. It doesn't mean stop dreaming or stop working. It means stop running from yourself while doing it. I close the wallet and place it gently by the window, where the moonlight catches it. It glows faintly, almost tender, like something forgiven. And in that glow, I realized that enough was never a number. It was a relationship between effort and rest, ambition and peace, doing and being. It was never out there, waiting to be earned. It was here all along, waiting to be noticed. I turn off the last light, and the room falls into a soft blue quiet. The city breathes. So do I. Somewhere deep inside, a voice that sounds a lot like Tolstoy's and maybe a little like my own says, "Live simply." Not because life is small, but because it's sacred. And as I whisper goodnight to the stillness, I understand that the wallet, the work, the worry, they were all just doorways back to this. A moment of truth, a pocket of peace, a life that finally feels like home.